All right, let's dive into data patterns. This is a fascinating company sitting right at the crossroads of high-end technology and India's national security. It's got an incredible growth story, but also a pretty steep price tag. So the big question is it worth it? Let's find out.
Here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll look at why this company is so important in the defense space. Then we'll peek under the hood at their business model. After that, we'll dig into the financials to see if the numbers back up the hype. We'll weigh the good against the bad. And finally, we'll put it all together to figure out the final equation for any potential investor.
Okay, so first things first. To really get a handle on data patterns, you have to understand the world they live in. And that's the super high-stakes arena of national defense. Now, let's be really clear here. This isn't just some other tech company. Data Patterns is one of the absolute fastest growing names in a sector that's frankly vital for the country. We're not just talking about gadgets, we're talking about the electronic brains behind India's defense muscle. And if you want proof of their importance, just look at this list. I mean, wow. Their electronics are inside the Tejas fighter jet, the BrahMos missile, even in satellite systems. The fact that they're trusted across air, land, sea, and space tells you something huge. It says their tech isn't just good, it's reliable where it absolutely has to be. That's a massive vote of confidence. So how does a company get to be so essential? It's not by accident, right? That all comes down to their business model. Let's take a look at what they do, and maybe more importantly, how they do it. Okay, their secret sauce is a term you hear a lot, vertically integrated. But what does that really mean? Well, think of it like this. They don't just design the complex electronics. They also build and manufacture them, all under one roof. By controlling the entire process, they can ensure quality and innovate way faster than competitors who have to outsource parts of the job. And what's really amazing here is the sheer range of stuff they're good at. They're definitely not a one-trick pony. We're talking about incredibly complex fields, things like radars, electronic warfare, and satellite communications. Seriously, mastering just one of these is tough. Being a leader in all of them, that's what really sets them apart. A great story and impressive tech are fantastic. But for any investor, it all comes down to the numbers. So let's crack open the books and see if the financials are as strong as the reputation. And yep, the numbers do not disappoint. Just look at their sales growth. We're talking about a compounded growth rate, which is basically their average year-over-year growth of 35% over the last 5 years. That's not just one lucky year, that's sustained, powerful growth. But here's where the story gets really compelling. Check out the profit growth, a 59% compound growth over 5 years. This tells you they're not just selling more, they're getting better and better at turning those sales into actual profit. That is the sign of a super efficient, well-run machine. Let's just pause on that number for a second. 59.4%. To grow your profits at that clip year after year for 5 years, that is truly exceptional. It really speaks to how well they execute, turning that top-line growth directly into value. So how are they funding all this crazy growth? Well, that brings us to another huge pillar of their financial strength. They are almost completely debt-free. This is a massive green flag. It means they're growing using their own cash, their own profits, not by taking on a bunch of risky loans. But look, a smart analysis isn't just about cheering for the good news. You have to look at the risks, too. So let's put on our skeptical hats for a minute and look at both sides of the coin, the bull case and the bear case. And this slide really captures the whole dilemma, doesn't it? On one side, you've got the bull case, that explosive growth and a super strong debt-free balance sheet. But on the other side, the bear case, a pretty big concern about how long it takes them to actually get paid. And this is the number at the heart of that concern, 307. That's their debtor days. What it means is that, on average, it takes them almost a full year to collect the cash after they've made a sale. Now look, long payment cycles are kind of normal when your main customer is the government, but it's still a risk you have to watch because it ties up a lot of their cash. Okay, so we've got the impressive growth and the rock-solid business on one hand, and we've got the potential cash flow risks on the other. This brings us to the final step, putting it all together. Now, for one last crucial number, 72.8. What's that? It's the stock's PE ratio, or price to earnings. Think of it as the price tag. It tells you that you're paying almost $73 for every $1 of the company's annual profit. To give you some context, the PE for the market overall is usually around 20 or 25. So yeah, 72.8 is very, very high. It means the market has huge expectations baked in.
And this brings us right to the fundamental question. You have this phenomenal proven growth on one side, and on the other, you have a very, very expensive stock. So the question you have to ask yourself is, am I willing to pay a premium price today because I believe that incredible growth is going to continue tomorrow?
So we'll leave you with this final thought. For a company that is so vital, so core to its country's defense, and has such a strong track record, is the biggest risk that the business itself will stumble? Or is the biggest risk simply paying too much for a success story that everybody already knows about? That's the equation every investor has to solve for themselves.